Hi, Leather Rokk here. Welcome to my channel. That was Tabby Boy, and Cassie's down here. And I know she wants to say hello. Hello, Cassie. This is my kitty, Cassie the garden cat. Okay, once again, we're going to be, or I am going to be, since the cats really don't have a say in this, I'm going to be showcasing the Too Faced palette that I did in my last video. That is called Then and Now. And this is the 20th anniversary palette for 1998 and 2018. The top palette here, the top half of it, was the original Then and Now palette, and the 2018 version is the one on the bottom. And I caught a 75% off sale. This palette was supposed to be $59. I got it for $25. But before I even saw the price, I fell in love with the colors. And I'm going to give you a close-up look at my eyes right now. If you like it and you want to see how I did it, stay tuned. So I have my trusty coconut oil, and I set this down some way that I won't drop it. And now all I have to do is tie my hair back. And did I put something here to tie it back with? I really don't want to use my Aerosmith wristband. I guess I'll have to use one of these, and this is definitely, these are again made of recycled plastic. And anything made of recycled plastic just does not last long. But recycling is still important. And, you know, this clip isn't really big enough. When you have waist-length hair, you need bigger clips than this. If you hear the wind blowing hard against the windows, we're having a nor'easter as I'm filming this. This is an earlier time of filming than I usually do. It's 9:45 p.m., which is quite early by my usual filming standards. Okay, make sure that sometimes when I film, I notice it seems like I cut off the top of my head, and I don't want to do that, but I also don't want it to angle in a way that's not flattering. So, alright, I am going to start taking off some of this eyeshadow so we can learn how I did this. And this time I'm going to, since I did the diagram ahead of time, I am going to be referencing my notebook to do this. Now, I don't want to keep on opening up that palette and risking getting oil on it, so I'm going to actually use this mirror. Give you one more close-up. Okay. Now, I also am cooking while I am doing this, and that doesn't really have anything to do with the video, but I do have 2 chicken breasts that are thawing out in a toaster oven so that I could separate them, and then I'm going to be stewing them. So the only reason why I'm mentioning this is because the dinger will go off, and the only thing that I'm slightly concerned about is if so much oil fills the tray that it's on that it spills out and it burns. And there is, I guess, a slight chance of that happening. And I have smoke alarms, so if they go off, that'll be why. One good thing about our smoke alarms is they're not wired to the rest of the building, so that means that it won't be disturbing our neighbors. And that's the one thing about cooking late at night, but 9:47 p.m. is hardly late at night. But there are times when I will be cooking right after, or I'll be eating right after I film a video, and I'm filming like usually between 4 in the morning and 7 or 8 in the morning. And since I don't like to eat before filming because it makes my stomach stick out, it ends up meaning that by the time I finally am filming, I'm really hungry and kind of grouchy. And, you know, when you're ravenously hungry, sometimes you can't even think straight. But, well, this is the foundation that I'm wearing. I really like this a lot. And apparently a lot of the other YouTubers like it also. Even though I thought that this was marketed more to kind of younger people. But you know what? This seems to be good for all kinds of skins. This Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless, I really like it a lot. This is my second bottle of it. I have this, the 2 bottles of this, and 2 bottles of the, oh, what's the other one? This is the other one, the True Match. These 2 are my main foundations that I have in rotation right now, partly because it's so hard to find foundations that are light enough for my pallor. But you know what? I think the next foundation I'm going to buy is by a company called The Ordinary. I want to get some more skincare. And since I think for free shipping, you only have to have a $20 minimum order, there's some things I want to get from The Ordinary, such as rosehip seed oil. I'm pretty sure they make it. I think I'm ready to add something like that to my skincare routine. But I want to get their foundation also. They have a really excellent shade range. I don't know how dark it goes for the darker skin people, but for the pale faces, it goes really light. They may even have foundations that are lighter than my foundations. And I usually end up just picking the lightest one, and it really does work for me. And since I don't get any darker in the summertime, and I wear even higher SPF than I normally do, so I really look forward to trying their foundation. I'm also going to be going to a drugstore in the next couple of weeks to get some Monistat. Not because I have some kind of a yeast infection, but because word on the street is Monistat is a dupe for the Smashbox primer. And why do you want to spend top dollar on designer things when you can get a drugstore dupe? So I think I'm going to do that, even though I am going to look at the ingredients and make sure that there isn't any mineral oil or something in there first, because I really don't like mineral oil on my face. Okay, now to actually coat my eyelid to be prepared, to make it prepared for the makeup I'm going to be using, in addition to the foundation that I just put on, I am finally breaking out the B&H Cosmetics Base Booster. I really wasn't too impressed with the other thing that I had been using to coat my eyelid. I didn't find that it helped the eyeshadow to either stay on waterproof, keep from fading. When you have hooded eyes, the eyelids rub up against each other, and the part that hangs down rubs up against your eyelid. And so if you have a frosty, shimmery shadow here, and you have a matte shade here, the shimmer will rub off on the matte and totally distorts your makeup. And at least that's been a problem that I've been having for the past couple of years, and it really annoys me no end. So now this primer here, it goes on slightly white, but it's supposed to dry clear. But the whole idea is you're supposed to take advantage of its tackiness, and that's what I'm doing. Now the jury's out on whether it's going to be doing me any good. I really don't know, because actually today's the first day I've used it. And I really don't want to give my verdict until I've had some time to experiment. I don't think it would be fair to you guys. And I just as soon be upfront. Okay, now I'm going to look at my diagram. And I didn't even really diagram it out. I just did a list. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do now, I'm not going to do a brow bone color yet. But you know what? Actually, I will go out of the order that I originally did this. I am going to take a little tiny, like this is a lip brush, and this is from Vivace, and I'm going to dip into this color here. It's called Ooh La La, which is actually technically two colors. It's a sheer black shimmer, and like I think it's probably a duochrome. It looks kind of like it could be eggshell, or it could even, depending on the light you hold in, could even be a very pale copper cast. But let's call it eggshell, and just because it's a color that seems really, really nice and pale, if you're pale. I'm just going to follow very, very close to my eyebrow, and being careful not to actually touch it, because it would be all too easy for some of the purple to get on this, and then it'll smear on my eyelid, and then I will not be happy. So I'm going to do this about, a half an inch or so, and you're probably not going to be able to see it up against this, but this is mostly so that the other shadows I do don't get too close to this, and it doesn't get all muddied up and stuff. So, and now some of these I'm going to have to go over to make sure that I get the effect that I want. Okay, the second thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to use one of the new B&H Cosmetics brushes. This is kind of big and fluffy. I think it's supposed to be a crease brush. And I'm going to give you a comparison here. This is another supposedly crease brush, and this is actually made by Wet n Wild. And even though I think that this area is too big to really be a good crease color, I do like how it got that ergonomic cutout that kind of you can hold the brush kind of, well, depending on where you hold your brushes. Sometimes I hold closer, sometimes I hold farther away, it depends. But I definitely like the B&H brushes better. Now, I'm going to be dipping into this color called Gigi. It's matte, and it's kind of almost like a mauve, kind of like a flesh tone. I want to make sure that this you can actually get it in the frame. And I'm going to tap it, turn it a little bit, because this isn't going to show up very well. But I'm going to go in the crease, and if that doesn't show up enough, I'm going to put a little bit more. Okay, so I guess this would be, many people might call this a transition shade. Now, I've never really gotten on board with using flesh tone colors when most of the makeup is not flesh tone, but I suppose it does give a certain extra definition. Okay, now we are going to, I want to make sure I have the right colored brush here. I think it's this one. Now, I'm going to go for the eyelid color now, and I am going to be using a color called Trixie. And this looks like a lavender shade, and it does have some glitter in it. And I'm going to be using this supposedly crease brush from Wet n Wild, which probably wasn't the best brush to use for this, by the way. But I'm going to go for it. That's why I want to get some more of the smaller brushes. I find that even though I have quite a repertoire of brushes, I seem to be gravitating to some similar shades. Now this I'm pretty much going to be covering most of this anyway, but I'm putting this on the lid, and then I'm going to put some more. And as you can see now, both those eyes don't match at all, because you're going to see that this is going to be covered up eventually. Okay, now in the inner corner, we're going to use this real pretty pink frosty color called Zsa Zsa. And you know it was named after Zsa Zsa Gabor, one of the glamorous broads. You know, I'm surprised they didn't have anything named after Elizabeth Taylor in this palette. Because when I think of glamorous women, Elizabeth Taylor is definitely up there. Matter of fact, she may have been one of the most beautiful women of all time. I don't know, but when I think of glamour, that's who I usually think of. Now with this, we're just going in the inner corner, and we're maybe carrying it about a half an inch or so. And this isn't going to show up too much now. Oh, almost touched the wrong one. This isn't going to show up too much now, but it will in a minute when we add another color. Alrighty. See, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some outer eye color. And this is another occasion where I really wish I'd used a smaller brush. This is a Vivace brush. And we're going to dip into a color called Villain. And Villain is a purple shade on top here. Now, I really thought, when I first got this palette, I really thought that this shade on the bottom, Shady Bitch, was going to be a much brighter purple. But actually, this is brighter, I think. But we're not going for the bright so much as we're going for the dark. And I like to start kind of with a ball. And then carry it out kind of to a point. Now, I'm going to blend this a little, but not yet. Then we're going to do some under eye color. We're going to be doing some of these steps twice. I'm going to use a really small brush here that was originally from a lip gloss set years ago that was actually designed to look like a flip phone, cell phone. And I actually used that a couple of times when bad gang kids looked like they were following me home. I whipped that out. Oh, I forgot one step here. In order for this to show up better, I'm going to take an eyeliner brush, and then I'm going to get back into that tube of the base booster. I'm going to put a tiny little bit on the back of my hand, and by a tiny little bit, I mean seriously, a lot less than I would use if I were coating my eyebrow. I mean my eyelid. I'm going to use a small eyeliner brush, and this is from Maybelline, by the way. I got it at a dollar store, I don't know how many years ago. And I'm just going to touch this like this, and then I'm going to get this mirror, and I'm going to do a fine line right underneath the lash line. And if it touches a couple of lashes, it's not going to hurt anything. Okay, and while it's still moist, I'm going to touch this brush to that color Villain, tap off a little bit, then I'm going to sweep it underneath my eye. And you don't want to make it too thick at this point. Touch it back into the Villain, do it some more. Now, if this brush gets wet with the base booster, I would not advise it getting on the pan because I don't want to risk messing these shadows up, and especially since this is the higher end thing. I don't know that I would even apply these wet or anything because I just don't want to damage. I noticed with some eyeshadows from different companies that I use, once I get the actual tin wet, the finish isn't quite the same and it's not as soft, and sometimes you have to be rougher with the brush to get the color out. So I guess that just goes to show that not all shade colors, not all eyeshadows can be applied wet and dry. Alright, next thing we're going to do is, you see this gold, there's two golds here. Even though this one arguably can almost be thought of as a gold shade. But the gold up here called Twinkie. Now for this, I'm not using a brush. I'm actually going to use my middle finger. And if you have kids on your knee and you just saw that, I apologize. But you know what? I never said that my channel was for kids. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretty much be covering up a lot of that pink that I applied earlier. And I'm just going to apply it in the middle of the lid. And going to apply some more. Sometimes a finger really does a good job. Now one thing though, if when you do this some other colors come off on your finger, then I would not stick the finger back into here, because you don't want to get other colors on the shadows, especially if you've got a higher end palette like this. You don't want to mess it up. I find I'm going to be kid gloving this. Now I hope you don't get tired of this palette. I'm going to be really showcasing this month, for the rest of this month, and maybe some of the next. And part of the reason for that, by the way, is I have been looking at a few other people's videos about the Too Faced products, and I found out that when they have them with the scents, some of them are peach scented, some of them are chocolate scented, or chocolate cake scented, but the scents don't stay too long. So I'm going to use this as much as I can while it still smells like I can eat it. Okay, what's the next? I always worry that I'm going to forget one of the steps here. Alrighty. Now, I guess it's time for eyeliner. And don't you know, I didn't set that aside here, but I think it's going to be right up here. Oh, darn it. Okay, this is not good, because I don't really have a substitute for eyeliner. Oh, boy. But you know what? Actually, yes, I do. Because let's face it, it's black eyeliner. How hard can that be to substitute? And I'm sure in this bag of pencils, I have a black pencil. Oh. And as a matter of fact, one of the tall ones is black. So, as soon as I find that, and you know what? Actually, a small one's black too. And by small, I mean really small. And this pencil in my hand here is by Hard Candy. Now, originally the eyeliner that I used for this was a Color Mates automatic eyeliner. But, you know what? This will work. And for this, I am going to do a light over, top of the lid. Now this pencil is kind of older, so I'm going to have to make a number of passes to get it over my eyelid. This is not soft and creamy anymore. I mean, this thing's got to be, it was never a big pencil, but this thing's got to be 4 or 5 years old, at least. And I'm also going to carry it underneath. And I'm going to wing it up just a little bit. Now, I'm going to go back. Where did I put the palette? Oh, okay. Oh, here it is. I have to go back in the outer corner, and this is Villain, which is the purple color up here. Make sure that see it. And again, I wish I hadn't had used such a big brush. And I'm going to make this bigger now and angle it up. I gotta admit, these purples are really interesting. They're not as bright as I at first thought they would be, but I bet if you put white shadow underneath them, you can brighten them up. Now you see how the angle here goes more this way and this is going more up? Okay. Maybe I need to make it a little bit more horizontal. Okay, now to complete this, all I really need to do is to add a little bit more of this light color just to make the sides match. I'm going to dip this bright brush back into, is it Gigi or? Okay, Gigi, yeah. This was a crease color. Hit it here. See, this is kind of almost like a flesh tone, but it just gives a little bit of definition. And maybe get a little bit more of this gold here, which is called Twinkie. Again, put it right. Isn't that nice? For my mascara, I am using the Wet n Wild Mega Wear. It's alright. It's not supposed to make something out of nothing. But even though with a name like that, it sounds like it should do something. But it's alright. Now, since I did eyeliner on top of the purple that I put underneath, I'm going to go back with that little brush and that color Villain, and I'm going to put it underneath this eyeline, because I find that sometimes the black will take off too much of the purple underneath, so you want to go back with the purple, because mascara can very easily smudge and can conceal the color that you have underneath. And the nice thing about this being glittered is that when the light hits the glitter, it makes your eyes twinkle. And supposedly another good thing about glittery eyeshadow is it's supposed to reflect the light, so you're not supposed to see fine lines and wrinkles. Even though it can accentuate them too, depending on, like, if the hooded lid, if it rubs off and stuff. So it's a crapshoot. I say, if the colors make you happy, you should just go for it and not worry about what is or is not appropriate, because that's just ridiculous. And caring what other people think, that's just ridiculous too. Now, for my cheek color, I'm dipping into the B&H Cosmetics Wet, Wild and Alluring palette. And it has like a bronzer color and a blush color. Now, this is not technically a bronzer, because bronzers really should not have shimmer in them. And this is certainly warm toned, and I'm more of a cool tone. But I'm going to use this, I'm not going to use it like a bronzer, I'm going to use it like a blush, kind of almost like a contour, but I'm just going to keep it high on my cheek, and I already have some on, so I don't really think I need any more, but I'll put a touch more on and angle it. Then for my highlighter, I'm using my favorite B&H Cosmetics palette, Black Light Highlight, and I'm using this shade here called Electra. And I already have it on, so I really don't need any more, but hitting cheekbone. Got some here, some here, here, here. Now, I want to show you the lipstick that I'm wearing. It's one of the new lipsticks that I got from B&H Cosmetics. This is their Color Lock line. And the color is, you know what? This label is so small. Blissful. I'm pretty sure that's what it says, if you can read it. And it is in the purple family, but it's kind of muted, but it's still dark. And I always have preferred darker lipsticks. And these are long-wearing formulas, but they will still come off on your coffee cup, as you will see. Well, actually, maybe if it dries down for a while, it won't do it, but still. See that? It came off on it. So, don't expect these not to transfer. And, by the way, if you ever eat fried chicken, it will smear all over your mouth, because anything oily will break these down. But if you're just drinking coffee or something, that won't make it smear all over your face. Okay, so what do you think? I don't know what I'm going to call this. I think it's really tricky to give names to makeup looks, but just other than describing the colors that are in it, and you could definitely see the gold, and you could see kind of plum. And it's one of many looks that I'm going to be getting from this beautiful Too Faced palette, Then and Now. My first high-end eyeshadow palette, and smells like chocolate cake. I wouldn't eat it though, but it's quite delightful. Now, if you like this video, I would love to have you give it a thumbs up, and unless you think it sucks, then give it a thumbs down. And if you like me and my content, and my cats, and all the things that we do, I'd love to have you subscribe. I make 3 new videos a week for your viewing pleasure, and love to have you join us on our adventures. Till then, talk to you soon. Bye.